Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be the end of year book tag and my last video of 2024. I thought what better way to end this year than doing a good old book tag and reflecting on my reading year. I also just can't believe we're quickly approaching 2025. It's a bit scary, but I'm also excited for the new year and what's to come. And so I've compiled a list of questions from various book tags, and I thought I would go through them and reflect on my reading year and share my answers to some of these questions. So I have them on my phone. Let's dive right in. Grab a little beverage, a little tea or a hot cocoa or whatever, maybe a little snack. Get comfy and let's just talk about books. First question of our end of year book tag is, what was your most disappointing read of the year? Now, I actually do have a few books that could fit into this question, which is a bit sad, but there is one that does come to mind, and it is Nothing Like the Movies, aka the sequel to Better Than the Movies. I just found that this sequel was totally unnecessary. I didn't enjoy it, or it was fine. I just didn't think it added much to this world, and we truly didn't need it. I personally am not going to recommend this book to friends, and it was just disappointing. And I went in with a low bar set, but I just found the dual POV didn't work for me. I felt like our characters, like, yes, they went to college and they're obviously gonna change and grow a little bit, but I just felt like they were different than how they were in Better Than the Movies. It also just was missing that spark. I felt like Better Than the Movies had this beautiful like connection and just like spark in it and magicalness, and this one just didn't have it for me. So this was disappointing and a bit of a bummer. I did go in with low expectations, so I'm not I'm not that surprised by it, but it's still disappointing when the first book you love is amazing and then the second book, the sequel, is just not as good. So that is one book that comes to mind when I think of this, and I guess I'll throw in some honorable mentions. A few additional books that come to mind is Reckless and the Powerless trilogy. In my opinion, I thought Reckless was a filler book and we really didn't need this book. Like, truly, we didn't need it. And this book could have been condensed into like 100 pages and just been at the first part of like the next book that's coming out, Fearless. And this could have just been a duology. So I was really disappointed with this, especially just because I know it's not the most dynamic book out there, like this world, but it's fun and I really enjoyed Powerless. So Reckless was a flop. It was definitely no plot, just vibes kind of storytelling. So take a grain of salt with that one if you are still planning to read it. But I'm curious to see how Fearless will go. And then unfortunately, I have to throw in an Ashley Winstead book, Midnight is the Darkest Hour. I did not like this book. It was not for me, and that's such a bummer because I love, like, a few of other Ashley Winstead's books are 5 stars for me, and like they're my holy grails. So I'm sad that this one didn't work for me personally, but those are the books that I guess were the most disappointing for me to read this past year. Moving along. The next question is, what was an overhyped book that you read? I honestly think I'm gonna say The Love Hypothesis. I know a lot of people love this book and the rest of the books in this like world. Personally, just wasn't for me, especially when I read other books like Just for the Summer, Funny Story, You with a View. I found those romance books just to overall be stronger storytelling compared to The Love Hypothesis. I do love the whole women in STEM representation, so that I love, but the overall character building and just plot lines and everything like that just felt flat for me. It's not memorable at all. Like, I could not tell you really what the plot was. I did listen to the audiobook, so I don't know if that maybe hindered my reading experience, but I just didn't enjoy it. And I know this is like a favorite in the romance genre, so it just didn't work for me, which I'm a bit bummed about. I think I will read some other books by Ali Hazelwood, but I maybe will just go in with like a little more caution as I read them. So bit of a bummer, but I'm happy that I did read it and I can check it off my like list of popular books to read. Next question is a book that surprised me, and shockingly it is going to be Carly Fortune's book. What was it called? This Summer Will Be Different. I have a weird relationship with Carly Fortune's books. I loved her first one, I didn't love the second one, and I really enjoyed this third one. And I could tell with this one, This Summer Will Be Different, her writing style was more fun and flirty, and just I feel like she had fun writing it, and I feel like you could just literally read it on the page. It was so palpable of how much fun she was having. So this book was just way more fun. How many times can I say that? But this book was a lot more entertaining compared, I think, to some of her other books, and it definitely felt like a beach read romance. I also just love her covers of her books. I think they're absolutely pieces of art. Like, they're stunning. So that book was a surprise because I didn't anticipate enjoying it as much as I did, and I still kind of think about it a lot. So I really loved it, and if you have read any of other Carly Fortune books and you didn't read this one, I highly recommend picking it up at least, because it was way different vibes than her other two books. So that was a surprise. And then also, kind of like an end of year surprise, was the Spark of the Everflame world. Oh my god, you guys, I love this little world that Penn Cole has created. I devoured these books in probably a span of 2 weeks, and mind you, they're not short books. Like, the last book is very chunky, but I devoured them. I ate them up, and I've chatted with Penn Cole like in the DMs on Instagram, and she's genuinely so nice. And I found a Discord where she has all of her, like, she's actively in the Discord. So anyways, I'm just a big fan, and that was a huge surprise as well for me. I didn't anticipate enjoying it because I think I saw people on BookTok were talking about it, and you know, you gotta be skeptical when you go into a book that's being recommended on BookTok, but I thoroughly ate it up and I'm obsessed, and I cannot wait for whenever book 4 is coming out. Okay, the next question is new favorite author you discovered this year. I feel like I haven't talked about these books that much, but I loved The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I read them in February. They kind of felt like a fever dream, but like I ate them up. I really enjoyed the writing style from Carissa Broadbent, and I would say she's a new favorite author of mine. I did discover her this year and I read her books and I thoroughly enjoyed them, and I need to pick up the new one. She just dropped a new book in that like Crowns of Nyaxia world, so I need to pick that one up. But I would say like an honorable mention would be Rebecca Ross, because technically I discovered her at the end of last year when I read Divine Rivals, but this year I've kind of read some of her backlog, like the Elements of Cadence series, which I know you guys are aware of how much I love that duology. It is perfection, and I need to read a few more books that I think she has out. I love her writing style, and I love how connected I feel to her characters, so she's definitely going to become an auto-buy author in the future whenever she releases her next book. Next question is what is the happiest book you read this year? And I think I'm going to say a Sophie Cousins book, and it's called Is She Really Going Out With Him? That book was just pure fun, and I remember smiling and giggling and actually laughing at some scenes because they were genuinely funny, and I normally don't always feel that way with the Sophie Cousins book. Like, they're normally heartwarming and kind of like, you know, tug at the heartstrings, but this one was genuinely fun, and I really want to pick up a physical copy of this book because it's so adorable and cute, and personally this is my favorite book from Sophie Cousins yet. I love that she always has characters that are later in life. I say that loosely. This character was like in her 30s or something, or like late 30s, early 40s. She has kids and is like a single mom now trying to figure out the dating world, and it's just refreshing reading characters who aren't like in their 20s like and making dumb decisions. And I think she just does a fabulous job of writing these characters and making you want to love and cheer for them. So this book was definitely, I think, one of the happiest books that I've read this year. I would also throw in Daydream. This was like a late edition as well. Like, I read just like I think in October, and that book was also fun. It is a little bit heavier in the topics discussed, but there were several moments where I was also like smiling and like giggling at the cuteness of the characters. Next question is what is the longest book you read this year? And no surprise, it is one of the Spark of the Everflame books. It's Heat of the Everflame. This is the third book in the 4-book series, and this book ends up being 761 pages, which when I found this out, I had no idea it was that long because I literally devoured this book. Penn Cole's writing is so easy to read. This book in particular, there were so many moving parts that it was really quick paced, and so you were just constantly like, oh, just one more chapter, just one more chapter. That was kind of the feeling of this book. You just wanted to know what was going to happen next right away, and the world building in this one was, I think, more significant than in some of the earlier books. So that's also a reason why I just devoured this book. I just wanted to keep learning and learning about this world. But yeah, that was definitely the longest book I read this year. And I was shocked when I found out how long it was because she is thick. Now, the next question obviously is going to be what is the shortest book I read this year? And that is the third Gilmore Girl. This was only 244 pages. For some reason, I thought it would be longer, but I did listen to this on audio, so maybe that's why I thought it would be longer. That was the shortest book I read and one of my 5 stars as well for this year. So if you are a Gilmore Girls fan, then I highly recommend adding this book to your TBR and highly, highly, highly recommend doing the audiobook of it because Kelly Bishop is a queen and she narrates the book herself, and just it felt like you were sitting on a FaceTime call or like on the phone with her and she was just sharing stories. So highly recommend this book. It was easily one of my most favorite books I've read this year, and I'm so happy that I did read it. All right, the next question's a fun one. What was some of your favorite covers of this past year? And I think I have a lot. Like, there's some beautiful books that were published this past year. Obviously, Just for the Summer. I love this book. I think it's absolutely stunning. There's just something about it that tickles my brain, and I just love it. I love looking at it on my bookshelf. It's stunning. Naturally, I have to include a Carly Fortune book. This summer will be different. Like I said earlier, her covers are a piece of art, in my opinion. They're absolutely stunning. They look so good together on the bookshelf. Like, I'm literally looking at them right now and they just make me happy. And I can't wait for the next one to come out because I think that might be my favorite cover yet. But obviously I have to include that one. I'm also going to include Is She Really Going Out With Him by Sophie Cousins. Like I said, this book is so happy, and I feel like this cover is stunning. It kind of reminds me low-key of Better Than the Movies, like the styling of it. But regardless, I love this cover. I love the light pinkness of it, and just, it's so cute. I can't wait to have a physical copy of that book. And then I'm also going to include River Enchanted and A Fire Endless. I think these books are so stunning for a fantasy world. I feel like a lot of the times, a lot of books are now kind of going down the path of more simplified cover designs, kind of like ACOTAR. But these, I think, are drop dead stunning and gorgeous. And I know there's some special editions out there that I kind of want to find on Pango Books or something. I think there's absolutely gorgeous. They're also signed editions, so they're truly one of my most valued books that I probably own personally. So I just love them, and I think they're pretty. I like this version though. I do think there's a different version for A River Enchanted. Like, I've seen a different cover for it, but these are the ones that I'm specifically talking about that I think look absolutely stunning. Next question is a book you haven't stopped thinking about, and obviously I'm gonna include A River Enchanted and Fire Endless. I haven't stopped thinking about these characters literally the entire year since I've read this. I think I read these books in like early March, still thinking about them. I love them. And then I'm going to throw in now Spark of the Everflame just because it's kind of fresh. Like, I read this in October, yeah. Did I read it in October? Or was it September? Might have been September. But regardless, these characters I think about all the time, and I just like am salivating at when the next book will come out because I just have to know what's going to happen. So I'll probably end up doing a reread of these when they announce the release date of the last book in this world. But these characters, I love the world that Penn has created, especially when we got to explore like the political dynamics between all the different like courts. I just loved them, and I highly recommend checking out this series if you haven't yet and it's on your list. I don't think you'll be disappointed. It's a fun time. Next question is books you plan to reread in the upcoming years. Definitely will do a reread of Just for the Summer. I'm not kidding when I say this was like one of my favorite books from Abby Jimenez, so I definitely will do a reread there. Same with Funny Story. Once I get a physical copy of this, once it comes out in paperback, I'll probably do a reread in the upcoming years because I just love Emily Henry books, and this was one of my favorites from her. You know what I want to reread though soon? ACOTAR. I was wanting to reread it like in spring, summer. I was like in like a chokehold of like, I need to reread it, but for some reason I didn't pick it up. But I do think maybe next year I'll reread at least the first 3 books. Oh, I would also say The Infernal Devices. This trilogy of books in the Shadowhunter world, oh my god, chef's kiss. I feel like I haven't talked about them in this tag, so I need to talk about them now. I would reread these 3 in particular. I thought these characters really were like impactful. You could feel their friendship and the found family aspect in this book. It was like palpable. Like, that is how much it wrecked me in the 3rd book of this trilogy. Like, I was crying, happy that I was reading the sad parts like not in public, because I was reading this on a plane at one point and I was getting teary-eyed and panicked that I was like, am I gonna start sobbing right now? But I can see why people love these 3 in particular out of the Shadowhunter world, because these were just so impactful. And I loved, like I said, the found family, there was like a love triangle, and I normally hate that, but I was like so conflicted on how this was gonna happen, or like who was gonna end up being selected. And the ending of it also was like bittersweet. Okay, and now we're gonna reflect on my Goodreads goals for this year. I set out to read 40 books, and I think I'm at, let's see, let me check. I'm currently at 55 books. I definitely surpassed my reading goal, and that wasn't the intention of this year. I just set 40 because I thought that was like a nice number to hit. I don't know. So I'm very happy that I did surpass 50 books, because I think last year I tried to hit 50 and I was like nowhere near close to hitting it. So the fact that I did hit 50 is pretty cool and empowering. I do think it helps when you read a series of books, like in the Shadowhunters, for example, I read 6 books in that world. Like that just helps speed up, I think, your reading goals. So that's my tip. If you are wanting to like hit a high number, I would recommend reading series, because I feel like you'll end up reading more because you want to know what happens. And I think for next year though, I'm just gonna still set it at 40 and like not worry about it. If I do hit it, great. If I don't hit it, no big deal. I'm trying to remind myself that reading is fun. Don't have to put so much pressure on ourselves. And like, yes, it's cool to hit your reading goal and like exciting to see that get checked off the list. But again, reading is fun. Some months you have way more books read than others, and that's totally normal. So those are my plans kind of tentatively for next year. I think I'm gonna make a more in-depth video about like goals for 2025 in my like yearly reset video that I'm planning on working on, but kind of a sneak peek on what I'm anticipating for the upcoming year in 2025. I've also talked about a lot of books that I have on my radar, so excited for 2025 to say the least, but I also can't believe 2024 is coming to a close. I feel like overall my reading for this year has been good. Like I didn't have that many 5 stars. I think when I saw my Goodreads like email that they sent out that showed the 5 stars, it wasn't truly that many, and some were rereads, and so that was a bit disappointing. However, the 5 stars that I did end up giving out, those are quality 5 stars, so maybe I'm just being more refined in the books that I'm reading this year. And overall, it was a good year. Not like an above and beyond year, it was just good. So I'm really hoping next year I find some new favorites that's like, I want to be obsessed with a book. I just like want to be obsessed and make it my new personality. I kind of did that with Just for the Summer. I loved that book, so I want to feel that feeling again, because it's just so exciting when you come across a book and it makes you feel that powerful of emotions. So I'm hoping we'll find some good ones in the upcoming year. But that's it. That is my end of year book tag for 2024. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want to answer these questions down below, totally do it. I want to hear what was your favorites, most disappointing, books that you think deserve more hype. Definitely let me know in the comments below, and I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, make sure to like, comment, subscribe so you don't miss out on when I post next, and I will see you guys in the new year. I hope you have a fantastic and safe holidays, and I'm thankful for you guys. So yeah, I think that's gonna be it. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys. Naturally, how I wanted to conclude this year was to do the, oh, did you guys hear that thunder? It's like storming right now.